So I've got Tim Gray here. I followed Tim on Instagram for probably the last 2 years. And as I was getting into optimizing my own health, so Tim is the founder of the Health Optimisation Summit, and his handle on Instagram is Tim Biohacker. He's built up a quite an impressive amount of followers through his daily biohacking tips, and I've been educated that way for a long time. So I reached out to Tim to ask him a couple of questions and then to bring him on to Ben's Business Podcast. So welcome, Tim.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I think the first thing would just be for you to give yourself an introduction, what my audience could learn from you. We're obviously, my audience is business owners. We read business books, but we're very curious people as well. We read into all aspects of life and health, wealth and happiness. So with that in mind, obviously I'm interested in health and bringing that to the business audience as well, because business owners can be entrepreneurial people can be very busy and not focused a lot on their health. So kind of with that dynamic, knowing that these people like me are building businesses, maybe multiple businesses. I've got 3 children, trying to like fit the health optimization and biohacking in as well. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and give yourself an introduction.
Well, I mean, first of all, I guess I would hate to say it that I've been an entrepreneur for now 20 years, pretty much. I'm now 43, and I started my first company at 23. So I'd say I'm an entrepreneur and have built several 7-figure companies, actually. First of all, if you notice my mouth is blue, it's because I've got some methylene blue in from Transcriptions. It's kind of a smart drug. Methylene blue is one of the first ever pharmaceuticals ever made, and it's very good for oxygenation and mental clarity, as well as various other things. But anyway, so that's why. So I was a very busy business guy, entrepreneur for many years, and really put my business ahead of everything, my relationships, my social life. You know, I remember sitting at my desk and once upon a time and thinking there's nowhere else on the planet I'd rather be than in front of my computer in my offices. And that really does, sit with where my mindset was until it was too late, really. And I went from 23 until 32, something like that, completely neglecting my body, working really hard, 16, 18-hour days, not drinking enough water, having too much coffee, not eating proper food, if anything, and until the point where, I was getting up, going to work, running one company, finishing the day with one company, and then moving on to the next, and then doing that through to the moment I've stuck food in my mouth and then jumped into bed. Mm-hmm. So, it's basically just too much. And the thing is, I mean, I'd looked at smart drugs, or not smart drugs, more nootropics that you find in Boots the Chemist, or, any of these traditional retail places that like Ginkgo and various other crap that doesn't really do a great deal on its own. Trying to boost my mental performance, but I didn't really realize that, as a business person, you prioritize the most important thing of that moment, and that can be an urgency or it can be a long-term thing. And if you focus on the urgencies too much, you don't. If you're always focusing on your business in the short term, but not focusing on your health in the long term, your performance will decline. You will become far less effective, and yet it creeps up on you. So I was operating at probably about 65 to 70% for many years, thinking that I was performing really well, and I was making loads of money. It was awesome, but I didn't realize how suboptimal I was until I actually got ill. And if you don't pick a day to relax, your body will pick it for you. And that's what happened. I went traveling to Bali for 3 weeks. And on the way back, I got into the country, went to the office the next morning and had a kidney stone stuck in my ureter, which was, insane. I was in hospital for 3 days. I'd had gut issues, multiple intolerances, frequent urination, all these things. So the point is that I didn't prioritize my health until it slapped me around the face, and it took me 10 years almost to reverse those things. So I think the most successful, and success doesn't necessarily mean richest, but it can be, the most successful people I know prioritize their health and their business, not one or the other. And in fact, the super successful people prioritize their family time. They lock away family time with no exceptions.
Yeah.
They prioritize their business and no distractions, and they prioritize their health with no exceptions. Like my friend, Dr. Dominic Nichwitz, he's like the role model for that. So anyway, the point is, as I got really ill, I figured out a load of cool things, and here we are 10 years later. I talk about the things that I've done on my journey that have optimized my health and performance. And now, I can get significantly more done in 4 hours in each day than I could do in 16 hours previously. And now I run multiple companies. I try to focus as much as I can by having heads in each company. But I find it super effective, which means I can travel 6 to 9 months of the year and still work from my laptop without overdoing it. Yeah,
that's amazing. So just a quick question is, what have you eaten today and why? Like that's always quite an interesting question to ask sort of people who are into health and coaching.
But at the moment, I'm just carnivore.
Okay.
Just for a test for a couple of weeks. I mean, I've done vegan before. I've done vegetarian. I've done full keto, dirty keto. I've done carnivore, low oxalate, low histamine. All these different diets. Each one of them is what works for me. But I'm just doing a reset at the moment, so I'm carnivore at the moment. So carnivore doesn't mean just meat. It means almost just meat, with few exceptions. Like I basically had for breakfast bulletproof coffee with collagen and MCT and butter and a little bit of vanilla and some Himalayan salt blended. So that really gets me fired up because I'm predominantly fat based in my diet. I really thrive on it. I had chicken breast and I've had king prawns as well. Okay. Typically I would have chicken breast with maybe some tarragon, some ginger, and a little bit of maple syrup added, and then just shallow fried in butter. So that's what I generally have by now. I also have aminos, actually from the brand I brought out. So essential and branched chain amino acids and creatine and taurine and magnesium all in one stack. So yeah. See, with a carnivore diet, or just you were saying about eating chicken kind of on its own, with are you having fiber in the diet as well, or is this more just like you're saying a reset with just having? It's just a reset. I mean, there's some studies around how fiber is beneficial, and the more people that have fiber, the less chance of having cancer in the digestive system. In fact, if you're actually eating clean and healthy and exercising, the fiber becomes almost irrelevant. But this is a reset for me. It's not something I intend to do ongoing. And typically I do eat some plants, but I just find that because of my digestive health issues, with the amount of antibiotics the doctors threw at me because they didn't know what was going on, it destroyed my gut flora. So I'm working on gut flora at the moment. Again, is that repairable? Yeah. Then that's what you've been doing over the last 10 years, is repairing that damage. Well, I did repair it, and whatnot, but it's always about constant refinement and optimization for me. So I don't just want to optimize when I get sick. I want to prevent getting sick. So doing a stool test every 6 to 12 months, looking at what bacteria you're deficient in and what you need to supplement with, or how you need to adjust your diet accordingly, is key to longevity, health span, and lifespan. I've seen on your stories today that your students, or I don't know if it's your own brand, but there's lots of different tests that people can take to self diagnose and MOT themselves. Yeah, I wouldn't say self-diagnose, definitely not. I would say check, self-quantify. looking at what might be off. I mean, a lot of these tests, unfortunately, traditional doctors don't do or don't know to do, because they haven't been trained in preventative. They've been trained in, you know, servicing, fixing the car when it breaks down, opposed to servicing it before it goes wrong. So, you know, I've got a genetic test, which I've done many before actually, but this is a new one that links in with all the digestive health products, the hormones, the traditional blood tests, and all the organic acids, so your urine, to check to see what you're excreting bacteria and yeast wise. So really the Omnos system, and I'm not affiliate and I don't get commission for any of this, but I really think it's a good system for having multiple tests, that the data then goes into one platform and then it can tell you what to look out for. If you want to give a practitioner that you're working with access to it as well, so that they can see, you know, what your results are and how they cross correlate, opposed to just, oh, here's a blood test, okay, you're out of range on potassium, let's supplement with potassium. Instead, as it's looking at the bigger picture, it's looking at genetics, what might be influencing that. So that's why the tests I'm doing right now, Omnos are actually going to be exhibiting at my summit in May as well. They've got a really good range of tests, yeah, they're good, really good new tests coming out as well. So
okay, that's something I've not invested into yet, but I can see the benefit of. Obviously, it's kind of like with financial literacy and like having an understanding of your health. It's important to look after your own bank account, and the same as it's important to look after your own, rather than delegating your health to a doctor or someone else. Being your own physician. So taking these tests like is kind of a way of doing that.
Well, I mean, how many companies have you run or been in where they've done a SWOT analysis or risk analysis? But how many times does it talk about employees and their health? Very rarely, but they do sometimes. But how about the CEO or the founder or the, you know, whoever may be in charge? You know, doing a risk analysis on the CEO getting ill. I mean, it has a detrimental effect to the company in the long term. Often in the short term as well. And, you know, how often do you look at the P&L and the forecasts to know how the direction of the company is going, on how it's profitable it's going to be? Why wouldn't you do that with your health? You know, that's not even your body. I mean, that, you know, if every company ever goes wrong and everything falls apart, the one thing that you're left with is your body, you know, your mind, your body. Why wouldn't you put that ahead of everything else? Because if you do, then obviously everything else can thrive. But what's the saying? A man with his health has many wishes. A man without his health only has one. You know, don't do it too late. So, you know, in terms of, for instance, gut health, you know, we all go poo every day, and we all eat food. Some of it not necessarily the best nutrition, but what you are eating, you want to know that you're actually getting the nutrients from it. So why wouldn't you test your gut bacteria to see if it is actually getting the nutrition from your food, so that you thrive, because that's long-term health? Or if you're tired, or you get tired after certain foods, or tired at the end of the day, you just fall into bed, you know, why wouldn't you check your hormones to see that the hormones are balanced, and if there's something that needs adjusting, because it might just need one supplement or one lifestyle change for you to thrive, for you actually to get out of bed that extra hour earlier, and actually have your brain switched on, so you can have meetings an hour earlier, which, you know, compound effect, it has a significant impact over the space of a year. You know, it's just underrated in the business world, and I think it's crazy. Although people like Jack Dorsey obviously do cold plunges and is known to be a biohacker. Elon Musk shared out a post a few weeks ago saying, you know, like about sunlight and nature, and, you know, having time off from devices and things like that, and the importance of it. So, you know, a lot of the big names are talking about it, and it's becoming more and more mainstream. I just think the typical entrepreneur is too busy sweeping it under the rug and focusing on making money, opposed to focusing on health, so that they can make better money.
No, it doesn't make sense, because then it catches up with you, and then you've not got the energy to put into your business, and it's backfires. So I'm 100% in agreement with that. And it's kind of like leading on from the question about my own lunch. So my typical lunch would be like a salad with chicken. Like I'd turkey balsamic vinegar, olive oil, tomatoes, blueberries. So like, I think I'm eating quite healthy based on what I've learned, but I think one of the challenges is finding organic meat for me. And in typical supermarkets, like I went to Asda and I couldn't find any ready to eat organic meats. So I was just wondering on that, do you have any suggestions on where you can buy decent grass-fed beef and organic meat? I know you talk about that a lot.
Well, yes. I like to set myself up for success, not for failure. And I like to put things in place. If you read the book Atomic Habits, then, you know, it's about removing the things that you trip over and putting things that you should be tripping over in front of you.
Right.
So for me, you know, convenience of popping to the supermarket is just convenience. You know, for instance, you might have your favorite butcher over the other side of London, and it would take you an hour and a half to get there. Or you could just have Sainsbury's at the end of the street with crappy food, and that's convenience. And you pay more for the crappy food nearby than the good stuff further away.
Yeah.
I like to set it up so that I'm actually scheduled with these things. So I either get it delivered. For instance, I use Piper's Farm a lot of the time, or Abel and Cole also. They're both very good. Now, Piper's Farm, organic, sustainable farming.
Yeah.
It's really, really great stuff. And I order, you know, kind of like 2 kilos of chicken breast in tarragon, which is my favorite actually. And beef stir fry, or, you know, a joint, or in beef joint, that is. I'm not smoking. Yeah, so I like to order things in, and I've got 2 freezers so that I'm always good to go. Obviously, that if there is a convenience thing, such as I've run out for whatever reason, or I've been traveling and I want something that's not frozen, then, you know, I'll just pop up the road to Marks and Spencer, and I won't stress if I eat something non-organic, you know, once or twice a week. It's again, it's compound theory, or you know, the more you do it, the more it adds up. And it's best to not have it as the rule, but have it as the exception, and not stress about it too much, because stressing about not having organic too much creates increased cortisol, which actually slows down or damages your immune system. So, you know, what's worse, eating non-organic, or stressing about the food you're eating? So, Piper's Farm, actually, I got a code, and I'm not an affiliate. I don't do affiliate deals, but the code is Tim BIOHACKER, gets 15% off.
Okay, just your Instagram handle. Okay.
So just order online, dude, and get it delivered once a week or once a fortnight, and it's actually cheaper than going to Marks and Spencer's or Tesco's or any of that crap.
Right. Okay. And what was the other one? Piper's Farm, organic.
Yeah, and Abel and Cole.
How do you spell that? Just
ABLE and Cole.
Okay. Yeah, that's really helpful, because that and your example, your excerpt from Atomic Habits is a really good example, because I think that's actually what I'm doing wrong, is I'm setting myself up for failure and rushing to Asda and looking for organic, not finding it, needing to eat, because I practice intermittent fasting and things. So I do get to that point where I'm pretty hungry when I've fasted for quite a long time. So I'm then in like kind of looking for food in a rush rather than like being prepared. So it's about being prepared.
Never buy food when you're hungry. Biggest mistake. Always.
So water, that's the other thing that I've seen you talking about quite a lot. Glass bottled water, is that the only way? Spring water? No,
I mean, glass water is better for you, in my opinion, just because of the amount of microplastics.
Like drinking out of this is I normally don't take it out of the tap, so I buy plastic bottled water. I did have a metal one, but it had a plastic straw. Is that bad for you on the long term?
In my opinion, yes.
Yeah.
I would avoid plastic if you can. The only thing is when you buy one-use bottles, like glass bottles, they're actually cleaned with detergent before the water goes in. So there's either the detergents from cleaning the glass or the microplastics or chemicals from plastic bottles.
Yeah.
So I actually have reverse osmosis filtered water, and I use the AquaTrue, which is reverse osmosis, and it takes all the impurities out. I then put a sprinkle of Celtic sea salt in to give the minerals back into it.
Yeah.
Also, the structure of water is significantly better if you have it in a glass bottle than in plastic. I have like a soda stream type thing over here. So I soda stream it and remineralize it after being reverse osmosis. I mean, we're a huge percentage of our bodies are water, and it determines how well we detoxify and how our energy is transported. Why would we drink the crap quality tap water that's full of chemicals? And even if people say, oh no, it's not bad for you drinking tap water, it is. It really is. There's plenty of studies and surveys and things around how bad
it always comes up as a debate when I talk about drinking like spring water that we can buy in glass bottled water, and that always comes back at me is that tap water in Scotland is good, but there's that debate where I've heard your side.
It's not, it's a product. I mean, regardless of what people say, it might be better. It might be better in Scotland, but it doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
You know, I would say, why would you risk it for the sake of a couple of £100 on a water filter? Why would you risk it?
Yeah,
I wouldn't. I don't. And it's about minimizing risk everywhere you can. Just the same as you would do with your company. You want to minimize risk.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes take calculated risk, and that's fine. But calculated risk, I mean, you don't need to just buy a water filter. And if you can't afford to spend £200 or £300 on a reverse osmosis filter, then you should be really not putting your life into the company if it's still not making money.
Yeah. So what is that filter, just to fully understand, because if I don't understand, maybe other people don't.
Reverse osmosis water. So it's a process of filtering and purifying water, not just filtering. And the water then goes through a specific membrane, which actually takes all the impurities out. So yeah, it's actually the best in my opinion. There are other water filters and alkaline water and all these things, but I don't think any of that's necessary. I think really reverse osmosis is the gold standard, as long as you remineralize it, and a pinch of Celtic sea salt, which gives you 78 to 82 trace elements and minerals back into your water, which is what water's supposed to have, because it's supposed to come through streams, through rocks, and be naturally mineralized, opposed to full of chemicals and toxins. So reverse osmosis is where it's at. And again, you know, if you're not drinking, you know, they say, you should have 8 glasses of water a day. Well, it really depends on your size, and it depends on the quality of the water, and it depends on the amount of minerals in the water and how much you're peeing and various other factors. But I make sure I drink at least 1.5 waters a day, which is filtered, purified, mineralized, at least. Yeah. And if it's mineralized correctly, you only need to go pee 5 or 6 times in a day. But if you're actually drinking low mineral water, i.e. it's not got enough minerals in it, you end up peeing a lot more, because your body actually, because you need certain minerals to maintain, or should I say retain, water. And when you're dehydrated, you're actually peeing out more water. Then you drink more water to get more minerals. But if it's still low mineral water, you're just drinking more water and not getting more minerals that your body's craving. So the moment you start adding in things like potassium, magnesium, and some of the other key minerals, then you're just going to be peeing more and more and more and drinking more and more and more, which is the vicious cycle people get into. And then as soon as you're dehydrated by 5%, your mental performance can decline by up to 30%. So, you know, it's a big win for not a lot of money, especially if you're running a company.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And just in case I've missed something, where do I don't put tap water into this? Okay, you just put tap water in, right? Okay.
Put tap water into the reverse osmosis machine, and it comes out purified. I mean, actually, I've got a thing on my Instagram on the IGTV tab of where they put Coca-Cola into the reverse osmosis machine and watch it come out as pure, clean water.
Wow.
So that's how good it is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how very, very good reverse osmosis is.
Yeah. Okay, and now just moving on to, you talked about like the size of people and how people need different things. I've read Why We Sleep and studied a bit about sleep, learned quite a lot from you as well. I've got myself an Aura ring. Instead of a marriage ring, I got an Aura ring, just to make it a practical ring instead of a ring. And my sleep score last night, for example, and probably quite on average, it isn't actually that good. It's about 71. So just to give people context, an Aura ring tracks your sleep, your heart variability monitor. So it's a bit further advanced than just a Fitbit. It tracks your readiness score, your heart variability. And what that does is it combines your exercise from the previous day and your sleep and gives you a readiness score for how ready you are to perform in sports the next day. But the data about the sleep is really useful on this ring and allows us to see what a sleep score is out of 100. So I got a 70. I think if it's above 70, it's good. If it's below 70, it says it's okay, and then it gets lower and lower. It's very bad. So yeah, that's how Aura ring tell us it's good or bad, but obviously you may beg to differ. And
well, I mean, it depends on your baseline.
Yeah.
I mean, sleep should be the #1 investment for anyone. If you're not investing in your health, you're not investing in anything. It's just ridiculous. We sleep to reverse the damage that we've done to our body during the day, and for our body to detoxify, which determines how we operate the next day. You only have to go out for drinking one night and have 3 hours sleep to know how bad it can ruin you the next day, and how you can't even work or think straight. And the problem is when it's 10% reduced, we don't notice it. So my sleep scores are generally 88, 95, maybe 96 on a good day. And my readiness score is usually 85 to 95, something around that. Okay. And that's because if I don't have sleep scores and readiness scores like that, then it's just wasted time. And I think for the sake of an extra hour of preparing for sleep, that pays off significantly for my day and how much I achieve. So I agree. Obviously the sleep score, you've got sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep, light sleep, heart rate, resting heart rate variability, respiratory rate, body temperature, and obviously the readiness score works out from all of these things. But most people think, I'm just going to go to bed early and I'll have a better sleep score. It's not. It's about how you set yourself up through the day.
Quality of the sleep.
The moment you wake up from the moment you wake up determines how good our sleep is at the end of the day. Right. So for instance, if you wake up, pick up your phone and have fake blue light in your eyes instead of full spectrum light with the infrared into your eyes before anything else in a dark room or whatever, that will reset your circadian rhythm, and the light actually affects our hormones significantly. Yeah. So, have fresh light, clean light into your eyes, not fake junk light. Obviously fresh air, sleeping with your room with the window open and making sure that your oxygen levels are high and your carbon dioxide levels are low. If there's two of you sleeping in a room, sharing a room, carbon dioxide levels will be high. You're not going to be repairing properly. Your brain fog will be higher the next day.
I've got 3 in our room right now with a baby.
Yeah, I mean, you should definitely have a window open or have some sort of ventilation going in there. It's actually crazy. I mean, I've been carrying around a device with me. I'm just going to grab it. It's called the Altos. So it's a air quality monitor. So it checks the CO2 levels, carbon dioxide, and the oxygen levels, and gives it a score on 1 to 10. When traveling on a plane, it's usually 2 out of 10. So it's horrendous. Super high carbon dioxide, super low oxygen. No wonder people get hangovers or jet lagged from it. In fact, Norwegian Air rolled out clean air technology by Boeing on their jets, which was the first airline to have it rolled out. And what that does is it pulls in air from outside the plane and puts it in the plane instead of recirculating the cabin air. Okay, so the difference is when I was speaking to the air hostesses about it, and this is the last time I flew back from the States pre-COVID, she was like, well, we don't really get jet lag as a result of the clean air. And so even clinics I go to in London, I go around with air quality monitor just for fun to test, and they're like 3 out of 10. So that's another health performance. I mean, it's the basics we need for our body: sleep, oxygen, water, And yet most of us don't even think about these things. Like, when was the last time you got the window open in your office? Anyone listening to this, or anyone that you had purified water and says crappy stuff, or actually respected your sleep? Professional footballers actually have a sleep chamber, and that is a room with fresh air, cool temperature, no light, no sound, no nothing. It's a sleep chamber. They have a room for fun and a room for sleep. And that's because they obviously want to perform at their best. Entrepreneurs, who often have, 50, 100 jobs, people working for them, and lots of livelihoods on the line, don't necessarily respect this thing, and they're a performance athlete. So and this also tells you humidity, sound level, and various other things. But it's really interesting carrying it around the world and measuring the different contexts of how good or bad it is. So if I start yawning, for instance, I'll be like, oh, it's going to be bad. So I obviously look on the app, and the air quality is very poor. And so I open up the window, get fresh air through, and obviously my mental clarity comes back even better, and I stop yawning. So, here it's a 6 out of 10. I've got the windows closed at the moment for the noise, because I live in central London. I don't have BT noise.
Any way around that? Because that's probably a problem a lot of people have. Like when they're in bed, a train might go past or a car might go past. How do you get around that? Is that? To be honest, a train or a car going past from time to time shouldn't really affect our sleep that much. If that sort of noise does affect people too much, then it's often because they're in fight or flight stage, i.e. they're too highly alert and they're not relaxed enough. And so they're probably quite stressed in life. The people that are quite edgy and like, oh God, what's that? Or jump, people that jump very easily are often because they're actually quite stressed. And it's not until they start relaxing, de-stressing, and meditating actually that they don't become quite so respondent, or they become more chilled out. So they sleep better as a result, because their body's not worried about a threat attacking them in the night. So obviously there's caveats to that. If it's super noisy, a main road that's going past with people hooting the horns or revving the engines and things, of course. But there are ways of getting ventilation into the house to make sure that there is clean air coming in. But I think, while the amount of fresh air may be difficult to open up the window, also the carbon dioxide levels are important. And you see in here it's 669 for carbon dioxide levels, which is fine. But when you start getting to 800, 1,000, something like that, it's when you start getting brain fog. 1,200, 1,500, it's headache or migraine time. People that wake with brain fog or feeling crap, it's really worth testing that. And that's called the ALTOS, ALTOS, get ALTOS. Okay.
I think about £200, something like that. But it's bloody awesome. I carry it everywhere with me. And they're going to be at my summit actually in May.
Okay. The sleep thing, I got 6 hours, 17 minutes sleep last night. I know that that's not enough.
You naughty boy. You better. That's just nowhere near enough, in my opinion, regardless. But what's your, just out of interest, let's have a look at your percentage REM and deep sleep. What are they?
Oh yeah, my REM, that's one of the key ones I'm trying to increase. For that last night's sleep, I only got 31 minutes, 8%.
Okay, it's horrendous. So total sleep 6 hours, 17, efficiency 91%, restfulness, pay attention is about half, REM sleep below half, 8%, deep sleep 25%, latency 10 minutes, timing optimal. Okay, so that's 8% REM sleep, did you say? And how much deep sleep?
1 hour 33.
What percentage is that?
25.
25. Okay, so 20 and 20 is about average, roughly. 20% deep, 20% REM, and the rest remaining light. My REM sleep last night was 30. The night before was 41. The night before was 39. The night before was 29.
Yes, I'm really underperforming there.
And my sleep time is actually, last night 7 hours 25. The night before 7 hours 57. Night before 7 hours 27. my average is 7 hours 41 minutes actually these days. And typically well above 90 most days. So look at the next one, 88 and 90 last night as well. But that's just because I set myself up to succeed, not to fail.
Yeah.
Like for instance, my dinner was 5 p.m. last night, and then I was in bed for 10:30.
Yeah, because I have studied like why we sleep. I've read Sleep Smarter. I understand. I have the knowledge, but I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it fully, and maybe that is like I have been, like the mistake you made in the past is prioritizing business in some instances over sleep, which I know is a crazy bad idea. So getting in late, probably, yeah, I was making all the mistakes last night. Got in late, didn't use my blue light blocking glasses when I was on my phone. I ate late because I got in late. I didn't have dinner. So just, I guess it really actually, my aha right now is just the preparation of each day. And one of the things I've struggled, I think this is like anyone who's at this stage that I'm at, who has the knowledge, the understanding, the philosophy, and not actually being able to get the sleep score up to 90 from 70, and get more hours sleep and eat healthier on a consistent basis. That's the hard part. I think being consistent when I'm learning all this, like I've studied some of Dave Asprey's stuff as well, becoming superhuman and things like that. It seems some of the stuff he's like a radical, and I think you almost have to become really obsessive around this stuff to really nail it in this world that we live in. Dependent, obviously, I'm talking about from my perspective as an entrepreneur with a lot of ambitions and 3 children under the age of 4. That's challenging to get it all right. And so I guess, like, I'm not asking a question, I'm just kind of expressing that to see if you pick up anything you could maybe help with, because I'm trying to get to that 90 on sleep. I'm trying to like hit the healthy eating, I'm doing a marathon. I'm very fit. But I think I'm failing on the sort of the health optimization of nutrition and sleep. So finding a way to kind of keep it all in consistent over time, I think I fall short sometimes.
It's just about priorities.
Yeah.
And I don't have kids or a wife. I don't need to prioritize anything over myself. Yeah, I'm not in the position to be able to answer that from a place of knowledge other than what I've seen from colleagues or friends, such as my friend Dr. Dom Nitschwitz. 3 kids, one of them's 2, one of them's 6, one of them's 7, something like that. And he gets up at 4:30, 5 o'clock. He does his workout. He gives the kids breakfast and takes them to school. Then he goes into his clinic and does surgeries 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And he works through to the end of the day and comes home and he's a dad and a podcaster and a speaker and a surgeon and and skateboards at the weekend and all these things. He squeezes everything in, but he's militant with his time and sets these rules. And I think other people I know that are very successful also have this exact same routine. Like family respects that daddy has to have time. And, for instance, Monday after the kids have gone to school, then it's 10 until 2 o'clock that he's in his office at home and there's no distractions. He can do whatever he wants and whatever it is he's working on. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, he's in the clinic, and then Fridays it's family time. And so is the weekend. I mean, he's strict with it. And the same with the other guys that I know that are very successful too. And opposed to always letting exceptions ruin their day. And like for instance, Dom's even got a spare bedroom set up so that if he has got surgeries the next day and the kids come in obviously to wake him up during the night as they do, he has his room where they understand that there's no disturbing. So, it's about setting yourself up to succeed, not to fail.
Yeah.
But I'm not one to talk about marriage and kids specifically because I've been such a selfish dude. I've always focused on me, and now I'm just starting to think about reproducing in the coming years.
Okay. Yeah, that's really it's helpful to hear these examples of other people you've observed. The other thing is, and maybe it's me being a people pleaser, it's finding that balance of being like, I guess it's like when I listen to things like what you post, Dave Asprey's information about health, is fitting in for me, like being a human. And like, for example, you go to your grand's house and she makes you dinner, and you're looking at how much rapeseed oil is in it, and how whether you want to drink there's cream in the potatoes and things like that, where if there's a balance of being sort of human at times as well, or being coming across as ignorant in the form of social aspect. Have you ever had that problem, or is that just me?
I used to. Like, for instance, Mum would make gravy with corn flour in it. And I just said, Mum, I'd love to have it, but I can't. It's got corn flour in it. It's a no-go for me. And she said, okay, sorry, Timmy, won't have it again. Done. You know, and you know, people don't want you to have stuff that you don't want to have. You know, but there's also the point of sometimes you've got to let go and have the exceptions, as I said earlier on about the organic. But the thing is, if you're always people pleasing, you're not going to look after yourself. This is just it, you know. Oh, just eat this absolutely horrendous hot dog that's made up probably from 50 people. It's got crappy glue in it. Oh, okay, Gran, yeah, I'll have it just for you. Nah, it's about, no offense, manning up and going, I ain't having that. And not people pleasing. It's about, you know, putting your own oxygen mask on first. But there's also the point of not being a douche and saying, nah, Grandma, I'm not going to eat that shit. I mean, to be honest, it's just about being you know, direct but fair. You know, like I said, thanks, Mum, but I'm not going to have it. It's got corn flour, and you know that I don't have that. It's okay. Never happened again. So it's just priorities. Do you want to please other people more than you want to have your own health?
Building your sort of rules around it. And I have got people sort of understanding that I'm different from like what they want to eat, and that's I ended up for a long time eating my own meals. When like, because me and my wife have like, I'm studying all this stuff and she's not as interested, so it's a dynamic where I'm eating my own meals sometimes, or a lot of the time.
I mean, this comes to setting yourself up. I mean, for me, I'm lucky enough to be able to choose a partner that is into biohacking, opposed to having one that isn't. But also, you can grow together, and what's important to you should become important to her, and vice versa. You know, that's also a love language. So I think that there's an element of that, and teaching people why it's important to you. You know, daddy can't provide if he's not well, and he gets sick when he eats X, Y, Z. Can we please respect that? You know, your wife would like to please you, I think. So I think there's an element of that, and that comes down to communication and standing your ground. So there is that as well.
I think it's a real problem. I thought I would address that and bring that up here, because I think other people struggle with that as well.
I mean, like, for instance, when I stop drinking, and I do drink probably 2-3 times a year, and if I do, it's gin and tonic, or gin and sparkling water, or Negroni, because it's got lots of bitters in it. But it's very rare, and it's like going out for drinking with people. I can still have fun without, and people are like, "Oh, it's boring if you don't drink." No, I can just keep my state accordingly. And it's like, to start with, it's quite hard saying no, and you know, if you've got the cake in front of you, it's quite hard not to eat it. But then eventually, it's like, naturally, I'm proud of being stronger than these guys that just have a drink and then feel crap for it. So there's an element of where, you know, don't put the bread on the table if you don't want to eat it. And if a waitress puts the bread on the table, tell her to take it away immediately before you start snacking, because it's very easy. It's a very, very rewarding food to eat. The same with alcohol and things like that. It's just a matter of standing your ground and priorities. You know, for me, I was very lucky because I had a gun to my head almost. It's like, Tim, your body's falling apart. You've been really ill, and if you eat, you know, XYZ chocolate cake or whatever, you will be ill. And you'll have to wake up with a migraine, and you won't be able to operate for a couple of days. It's that bad. So
Are you affected that badly when you eat things like that?
I used to be.
Okay.
But the point is that I had that binary: do it or don't. It wasn't, oh well, I should be okay.
So you built that up with that understanding that this is how you'll feel.
Yeah. I got used to the extreme, and now it's easy. It's like some people say, "Oh, this drink doesn't taste too good." So I went to an event a couple of weeks ago, and they said, "Oh, that drink is a bit too green juice and horrible." It's like, do you know what? I've done a month-long green juice diet, which is just vegetables, no fruit or anything. It's a walk in the park for me because I'm so used to the extreme. The in between is easy, and it's the same with cutting everything out with zero tolerance.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's why I relate with you and people like Dave Asprey, because I do things and like I don't like to do things in half measures. I like to do it properly, and I understand. Like I think the more I listen to people like you and anyone that talks about biohacking or health optimization, the more I listen to that, the more I start to agree with like the idea like look after your health. It's everything. So it really helps. I understand we're running low on time. But it helps to, it's almost a reminder, and it's like I've not fully embraced it because I keep falling back into old habits where I'll maybe eat some bread, and even though I know it's not that good, but it tastes nice, and I'm still growing out of old ways, and I've got a lot of tools back into that, and going out to restaurants as well is another part of that idea of what I mean when I'm like balancing that exception. I like to go out for dinner, but I find it where I stay quite difficult to find anywhere that's healthy.
Do your research beforehand. That's it. Like yesterday, I went to a place called Meat People in Angel, and it's all grass-fed, lovely meat.
Right.
It's all amazing. And my member of staff I took with him was like, "Wow, it's amazing. It's grass-fed." I know. I looked it up specifically, or various other things. It's about having your set list of things and being prepared, and then it becomes very easy.
Yeah.
Obviously I don't have a family to feed as well, so I don't have to worry about grass-fed steaks times 4. It's usually me and a friend or me and a colleague.
Yeah.
It's slightly different, but at the same time it's about setting yourself up to succeed, not to fail, and I feel like most of these things you can do that.
Yeah.
The other thing is like you say with the bread, I have a zero tolerance for it now. Zero. I would let it creep in, and I'd say, oh, sometimes I have it. And so, of course, sometimes it comes down and I'm like, oh, crap, I've had it 2 or 3 times this week. Yeah. It's like, no, I'm like, I do not do it. That's it. It's gone. So yesterday, when we went out for dinner, they brought bread and butter to the table. I said, I'll keep the butter. I ate that. And she looked at me rather strange, but it's good. And take the bread away immediately, please. And she was like, okay, fine. So I have a zero tolerance for it.
Yeah.
Like, unless you have this approach, it's like saying I'm not a cheater. Well, most of the time, if you get an opportunity, who knows, you might take it. If you say, I never cheat, this is who I am, you're never going to cheat.
It's an identity, yeah.
And I think this is where people fall off. It's like people that say, I go to the gym every single day at 6 a.m. until 7:30, every single day, no matter what. It's because they know that when they don't do it for a day or two, then they fall off the wagon and they don't end up going. So they need to be extreme. There is an element where it becomes stupid when you're like, actually, you're knackered, you haven't slept well, you've been drinking the night before, and you still go to the gym. That's just stupid.
Yeah.
The point is to have that rule and only have a very rare exception is key to winning. And that's setting yourself up to succeed, not to fail. Okay.
Quick final question around your following and how did you build up? How did you build up to 112,000 followers on Instagram, and what was the early stage of success in that?
It's just been consistent. A drip of water can damage concrete. A hose pipe for a minute can't. So it's just constant posting of content that
How often do you post?
Every single day. Sometimes I used to do it twice a day at one point, because the more you post, the more you seem to grow. But consistently 1 post a day is good for me. And well-researched topics and popular topics, and making sure that the wording and the imagery is done. It's just been consistent. And also always giving actionable takeaways, opposed to giving advice without any actionable takeaways, which is, I think, is what a lot of people do. It's like, if you do this, you will get this. And that tends to work very well. So that's why it's grown. I'm growing pretty much 10% month on month at the moment.
Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, well, I think that's us run out of time. So thanks a lot for answering all these questions. I had some questions in from other people, so I was trying to get through all of them.
No worries at all.
Thanks a lot for that. That's been really helpful for me, and I hope that it's been helpful for everyone watching. and listening.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to follow it and keep up to date on my content, it's Tim Biohacker on Instagram. And the Health Optimization Summit is happening May 28th and 29th in London. The website is healthoptimizationsummit.com.
Okay, I'll hopefully be there.
Awesome.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
See ya. Bye.